Now we're going to be recording.
Okay. I'd like to call to order the Town Council's reconvened business meeting from May the 11th, 2020 to interview applicants to the following positions. We will be beginning, our first one will be the Activity Advisory Committee. That term expires September 30th, 2021.
Okay, I am going to turn on Cindy's microphone and video feed now.
Okay.
And there we are.
Hello.
Hi. Hi, Cindy.
Hello.
Good evening.
Welcome. Welcome. We appreciate you filling out your application for the Activity Advisory Committee. And the way we do this is we just go around and each council member asks questions if they have one, and that, or two, and or three. And then that's kind of it. Before we get started, we have your application, but before we get started, is there anything you'd like to add?
Well, the application was small, so I wasn't able to expound on the activities that I have organized. I have 10 years of experience in organizing activities, one of which is actually still going on in Mount Lebanon. It's a yearly fundraiser. There are 2,000 people who come. I was part of the committee that started it because I had the Autism Center of Pittsburgh office on Washington Road in Mount Lebanon. So we organized that, and there are, the last time that I was involved in it, we raised $35,000 and 2,000 people came. There was not one incident. There was beer and bands and things like that. I was also the communications person for Autism Speaks when the walks first started in Pittsburgh. So they were pretty big. I have held conferences with hundreds of people at Duquesne University, and I organized all of it. Duquesne University, North Allegheny, actually. Just all kinds of activities for kids with autism and their parents. We rented the Gateway Clipper one year and all the kids with autism came for free. We raised the money for it and had a blast. We also one year, well, every year we had a pumpkin trolley ride down in Washington County where hundreds of kids with autism would come, take a trolley ride, get a pumpkin, go back, and decorate it. I mean, I have dozens and dozens of events like this that I have organized over the years. So I had one of the conferences that I had, which was at a hotel over in Robinson. It changed hands. I don't remember which one it was. We had national speakers. We had a writer from the New York Times come. We had a lot of people that were, doctors in the autism community. So I've been organizing events for a very long time. I have a lot of experience with that. And I also recommended 2 events already to the activities committee, which were both accepted. One was Touch a Truck for kids. And the other was the senior fair, which they accepted that event as well. So I have a lot of ideas and, I'm used to doing this kind of thing.
I'm sorry, I just got a call, excuse me. I know this is very rude, Cindy, I apologize. I just got a call from Carolyn. She says she can't find her link for the meeting. RJ, would you please send her another one quick?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, dear. I'm sorry, Cindy.
It's okay.
Did you have anything else you wanted to say before we started the questions?
No, I think my record speaks for itself. I was the director. I started the Autism Center of Pittsburgh and was the director for almost 10 years where we had, all these events. I ran 3 offices, Robinson, North Hills, and South Hills. Yeah, that was I had so much fun. I love planning events. And I'm pretty good at it, actually. So.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Usually we do this kind of in a circle, but since we have no circle, we can just do this by ward unless anyone isn't interested in that, I'll be glad to start being Ward 1. And that is, Cindy, you have planned a ton of events. Now, you plan these from start and you executed them all the way to finish. Is that right?
Yeah, as long as, I get the volunteers, I usually go out and get the funding. That's what I did with the McCandless Community Association. I started that. I don't know what they're doing now. But I planned the senior luncheon. I was the one that got the grant for the movies in the park. I got the grant for the equipment, so that everybody in the town can come watch free movies. And it's actually, I think, well attended and fun, a family atmosphere. So, I can't remember what else I planned with the Easter egg hunt. I started the actual Easter egg hunt in McCandless, and we had help, obviously. We had a whole board that helped, but that one was, I think, my idea, and that one's well attended as well.
Excellent.
So I also got all the funding for that too. Well, our committee did. I can't take full credit for that. So
I think we know these events that you've planned. I think they've been very good for the community. I think they have been very well attended, and I appreciate all the hard work that you have done so far. So I do thank you for that. Is there any questions from Ward 2? Oh, nope, we don't have a Ward 2 person. Ward 3.
Hi,
Ward
Cindy.
3.
Cindy. This is Chuck Mazer.
Hey, Chuck.
You've done an awful lot in all these activities. You're asking to be on the committee for the activities committee. And one question is, of all the things that you have accomplished, or what you may want to accomplish in the future, what do you think your biggest challenge might be?
Finding volunteers is usually pretty tough. It's hard to find people to get on committees and do some of the legwork. One person can't do it all, so there has to be a lot of teamwork, and it's difficult to find volunteers. I think that's a challenge. So far, so good, though.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Ward 4.
Hi, Cindy. This is Joanne Powers.
Hi, Joanne.
I'm very impressed with all of the things that you've done. Are you still involved with the McCandless Community Association?
I am not. Unfortunately, my brother passed away from cancer, and
I'm sorry.
I stepped down. So yeah, no, I'm not.
Okay. Then my follow-up question, I was going to ask you if you would come to the committee with ideas, but obviously you will be.
Oh yeah, I have tons of ideas.
Okay. Do you think there would be any kind of conflict between the community association and the activities committee if you were?
No, I don't know why there would be conflict. I left because my brother passed away and I was having a hard time. There's no conflict.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And congratulations. Sounds like you've done a great job.
Thank you.
Okay. Ward 5.
Thank you very much for taking the time to interview with us this evening. Clearly, you have a heart for kids with autism and lots of ideas, which is wonderful. This group is, the Activities Committee, as you know, is relatively new and still trying to sort out what their purpose is and still kind of finding their legs. And when it's at capacity, we have 7 members there. So I'm curious that in the event that the group as a whole should decide that they don't want to move forward with a particular project, or that they do want to move forward with a project that maybe you're not in favor of the decision, are you going to be able to support that project going forward?
I mean, obviously, that sounds a little personal. Yeah, I mean, it's teamwork. That's what you do.
Very good. Thank you.
Ward 6.
I don't know.
Sorry, I didn't see Carolyn come in.
She's there.
Yeah, I finally got in. So I might have missed it in case you guys asked this question earlier. What new, any new organizational ideas would you have for the group, since we are new and we're trying to get the schedule of things rolling for the committee?
Well, I mean, they already accepted two of my ideas, the senior fair, which I'm planning. I mean, if I'm going to be working with the committee, which I think I will, because I came in and presented the idea with, a paper presentation. And Touch a Truck was another idea that I had that I believe, I didn't make a formal presentation. I'm pretty sure that they accepted it. Trish, did you? I mean,
We all thought it was a good idea.
yeah, it's no cost, because what you do is you ask a construction company to come bring their vehicles, and the police and the fire and stuff like that. You get a special event liability policy. I'm very familiar with that, for insurance in case something should happen. But really, it's like no cost. You could bring in food trucks, and the kids and the police cars and stuff, and kids love that. So for other ideas, I think it would be fun to have like a community chili cook-off during Community Day. It's fall. Well, it's actually summer. Maybe we could do it in the fall, like a chili cook-off. I think that would be so fun. And then invite some local restaurants to come and be the guest, like taste testers and stuff like that. Invite them to come participate in the chili cook-off. I think that would be really fun. I don't know. I can plan things like the ideas just kind of come to me randomly, but that was one idea that I had, and I love planning kids events. So maybe something for the kids over the summer. I'm not sure. I'd have to sit and think on that, but I do, I have some ideas.
Okay, thank you.
Chili cook-off was one. I think that would work out pretty well.
Trish?
Thank you. Thanks for being here with us tonight, Cindy. Appreciate it. One question, I guess I have like two follow-ups to what Chuck asked. Like yourself, I have a lot of experience in planning events, and I understand the need for volunteers, how tough that can be, and I think you've done a great job so far for the events that you've been sharing. One of my fears is now with the result of the pandemic, budgets are going to be tighter, getting corporate sponsorship, getting folks to open their wallet, things like that. Do you see an impact in events coming up with the pandemic and budget constraints? And have you started thinking at all about how these kind of programs could be funded?
The Department of Community and Economic Development may have something. I have perused their grants that they have available for towns. It's easier to work with a nonprofit so that it's a tax deductible donation. So I think if you work in conjunction with the McCandless Community Association, we can get a lot of funding there. But yes, there are going to be budget constraints, but the more legwork you do, and the more vendors you get, you can like lower donation requests. So say you're not going to Highmark for 500, you're going to 5 different people for 100, make it a little bit more affordable for them, but get more sponsors, more volume.
Thank you. And I guess part of this too, I mean, I hear, working in conjunction with other groups. And one of the things I'd like to see is working with even other town groups like the EAC, things like that, because I think in the Community Day, we've already decided to try to work with Community Day, chili cook-off. I love that. I did that when I had a restaurant. I did not win. I lost by about 20 minutes. And I don't forget things. But one of the things I was hoping to get more involvement is seeing some input in the activities advisory committee from the youth in our community, from those in the senior living facilities, and from minority groups. Right now, we have a serious lack of diversity on the committee. So I don't know if you have thoughts on engaging more members of our community into these activities.
Well, yeah, there's a very large, diverse population here. And I think that we can reach those people, by sending out maybe flyers. I know direct mail isn't good, but, Facebook is always a good one. Try to get people more involved. We have a large Indian community, large Asian community. I'd like to see them get involved. a little bit more. I think we can pull them in,
Yeah,
into events like that.
would love to see it. It's going to, be some work. And I appreciate, and I feel like you've put a lot of effort in, especially working in the autism community. You've probably worked with folks from every walk of life.
Yes, I did.
Coordinate those events.
No, rarely had a problem, but
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from anyone on council?
I have one more, if that's okay.
Sure.
In regard to our comprehensive plan, I know one of the things we were trying to do on the activities committee is try to figure out where our gathering spaces were.
yes, that's a problem. Huge.
So I'm wondering how you feel to be a part of that effort to try to, right now we've kind of hit the roadblocks of nobody's allowing anything,
Right.
but it's still a need that the community has expressed, and wanted to see how you felt about that project.
Yeah. I'm sorry. What was your question again?
We're just
That
trying.
was kind of long.
It's okay. Our comprehensive plan has stated that our community wants to know what's available in terms of gathering spaces, whether it be meeting, party space.
Okay. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought, kind of derailed there for a minute. But yeah, when with the McCandless Community Association, we had difficulty, obviously. We had our Valentine party over in Franklin Park. They have a great facility. I'd like to see something like that here. So, because we are lacking space for sure. Right now, I would reach out to La Roche, the churches. Memorial Park was great, hosting the senior luncheon that we did. Yeah, meeting space is really hard to come by. I know that Pro Bike and Run, they're going to have meeting space, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be expensive. But I'm sure we could work something out with them. Or yeah, meeting space is a problem.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Also, the schools. You can reach out to the schools. I mean, I think there's a lot of potential, untapped potential in using school facilities for things like this. And I think we need to work with the school district as well as, the community association and other nonprofits.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much, Cindy, for your time. We appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. See you later.
All right, bye. I think next is our junior council person interview.
Yep. All right. If you are ready, I am going to unmute your mic, start your video, and then we can start the interview.
Hi, how are you?
Oh,
Nope.
there we go. Now he's
okay.
Now
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. So I will tell you, because I tell everyone, just in all fairness, and that is, we have your application and we have your very, very, very comprehensive resume for such a young man. And then we'll go around just by ward, and if we have any questions, we'll ask you. Is there anything additional to what you gave us that you would like to say?
I think you have pretty much everything, but there is one thing. This year we have a key club in my school, and I have been elected treasurer for that one. So if that's not on there, then that's it.
Okay. Okay. All right. Great. All right. I'll start us off. And that is, so you were in surgery. I spent a little time there myself. What did you think about that?
Oh, I love surgery. I mean, I love the medical profession all the time. I used to see those things. I fainted one time. It was pretty bad, but otherwise, no, it's a lot of fun to see them.
That's a lot of people who faint first time end up going into medicine and surgery, which is amazing to me, but yes. Okay. Okay. I also saw that you are a member of HOSA.
Yes. That's there's like this medical program in my school. It's called HOSA. It stands for like Health Occupation Special like Authority or something. And
Students of America. Ask me how I know that.
How do you know that?
Because I was a member the first year it started.
Nice.
1977.
It's not that long ago.
Not that
Wow.
long ago. You're in,
Wow.
right in, buddy.
Wow, Kim, that was a long time
Calling
ago.
for a vote for the junior council member right now. All right. I didn't have any questions for you. I just, I thought your resume was terrific. I know you're great at trivia. I know that too. I've competed against you in trivia. I got my hat handed to me. That's all I have.
Thank you
Ward
so
3.
much.
You're welcome, Ward 3. Ward 3?
Raj, this is Chuck Mazer from Ward 3. I
Hi,
looked
Mr. Mazer.
over your resume. You have a tremendous amount of experience and background and activities and awards. It's just overwhelming. I'm really, really impressed. I see you talked a little bit about surgery and you shadowed a physician oncologist. Does that mean that's where your career you expected to go to as far as being a surgeon or a physician at least?
I mean, kind of hoping for it, but in all honesty, I'm still pretty open to anything. I just went there because, in fact, that's not the real reason I was there. I didn't have anything to do my 8th grade summer, so my dad just told me, hey man, my hospital, they offer this sort of volunteer program, and I was like, okay, I have nothing to do. So I went there, and after a while, it was like really nice. I got to serve these veterans. It was amazing. They all told me their stories and stuff. And but then my dad was like, oh, do you want to just see this, and that's essentially what happened there.
Mm. You obviously have a lot of ability to work alongside other people. You work with teachers and principals, and you conduct meetings and guided students in their activities. So, and being part of student council. So, congratulations for all that you do. I don't know how you do that and still have time left over.
Thank you.
Okay.
Ward 4.
Hi, this is Joanne Powers. I'm from Ward 4. My first question is, what grade are you in?
I am in 9th grade, going on to 10th grade.
Oh, you're going on to 10th. Okay. I also would like to say I'm extremely impressed with your resume.
Thank you so much.
And I see that you are very, very involved. My question is, because you are so involved, which is wonderful, do you feel you will have the time to do this?
Absolutely, because, oh, sorry, were you finished?
No, that's okay. Go, yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, so the thing is, a lot of those programs, they come under a lot of my middle school years, and a lot of stuff I did then. A lot of the surgery stuff like that, the hospital thing, that happened during my summer where I got to have tremendous experience. So right now, I don't have much to do, and I really feel like I've wanted to get involved in our committee for a long time, and I feel like this is the perfect way to do it.
Well, that's wonderful. I'm very happy to hear that, and I like to commend your dad that he's keeping you active and busy through the summer. Thank you very much. I appreciate your putting your name in.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ward 5?
Hello, Raj. Thank you for interviewing with us this evening.
Absolutely.
I'll also just throw it out. You have a great resume. Good for you. Excuse me, I have a tickle in my throat. I see that you've been involved with robotics for several years.
Yeah, yes. But
So-
that was like one of those things, again, like a middle school kind of year. It was a great experience again for me, but I'm done with robotics.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
It seemed like you had a storied history in robotics. I was gonna.
Yeah.
Oh,
Fulfilled
goodness.
his desire.
Yeah, check, huh? Well, Raj, you've answered already some of the questions I was going to ask, so thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Okay, 6, 7.
No, I'm next.
All right.
That's okay. Hi, Raj. This is Carolyn.
Thank you.
I wanted to see, could you tell me a little bit about your time on student council? Anything?
Absolutely. So I was like in middle school, I was really actively involved in student council. So in student council, like 6th grade, and then in 7th grade, I ran for vice. Luckily, I ended up winning, but it was more of what I did. It was so we had like a lot of we needed to raise a lot of money. So we had like a few fundraisers, all these sorts of ideas, especially because a lot of stuff had happened. There was a hurricane and stuff like that. So we did a lot for that. And then there were various things that happened. The Pittsburgh Synagogue, a lot of stuff like that happened. So we raised a lot of money to donate to things like that. And we also, in that, we also saved a lot of money for our student council for the next years, for like the next generations coming who are going to serve as officers. So that was really nice. And then at the end of the year, as like a kind of graduating from middle school congratulations thing, we threw like this big fundraiser. It was more like a party kind of thing with all the 3 middle schools in North Allegheny, and it was a lot of fun.
Sounds like you've got a lot of great ideas you could share with our activities committee. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, up 7.
Hey, Ross, this is Trish, Ward 7. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Absolutely.
I have 2 questions for you too, kind of relating to your work with student council and the student body. One, kind of like, what do you expect out of this? Now, when you were with council, were you able to present ideas to administration and they listened to you, or was it directed in the other way?
So it was like that. I think that was one of my pet peeves a little bit, is that they weren't as like, the board was really nice. Like, we got to be on the principal's authority. They did listen to ideas, but when it came to implementing stuff, there wasn't that much. And like, whenever, it wasn't me mainly, but whenever our whole team needed to make a suggestion, sometimes, like, a lot of times they might not have taken it, or it might have just gotten lost or something like that. That was like the only thing, but otherwise it was wonderful.
Good. And I also noted on your resume that you increased the number of student council members. And
Right.
I know it's hard to get the student body active in something like this. So basically, we're hoping you might share your special sauce for
Okay.
that to happen.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it wasn't my special sauce, but it was our council members. Everybody, I think it was really great. My team was really great. Like, we all made the effort of really pushing, making everybody come. And to my surprise, a lot of these kids who you never thought would participate in student council suddenly became their officer representatives and stuff like that. It was really awesome.
Great, thank you.
Absolutely.
Are there any council members that have any additional questions?
Yes, this is Joanne. Before we move on, I would just like to compliment you that you are such a confident speaker for a 10th grader. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. My parents don't feel that way, but.
Well, I congratulate you. I think you've done a fine job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I was just checking to make sure, and I would like council to know that our recommendation for a junior council member is a junior or senior in high school.
Yeah.
But he is our only applicant, and a very impressive application, I will say. So if council wanted to, now we have this under new business for a vote, but I want to give this to you now so you can be thinking about this and before we get to the actual vote. And that is, he is the only applicant. He is a very impressive young man. And if we want to make an exception to that junior or senior requirement, that we can do that.
Thank you.
All right, so council can make that exception. So if there's nothing right now, then thank you so much for your interview. And under new business is when the when the action happens.
Oh, absolutely. Should I just leave the meeting, or is?
No, you can stay to the end of the meeting. You'll be muted. You won't be able to speak unless you have public comment. But you're welcome to stay. It's a public meeting. Everyone can stay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. If we are good to go, I'm gonna shut your video off now. Right. Okay. Thank you very much. next one that we've got on the agenda is Justin for the Town Council Ward 2 position. So, Justin, I'm gonna start your video, unmute your mic, and here we go.
Hi, Justin. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay. Hi. Welcome. We appreciate you submitting an application and having interest in this position. Thank you very much. I will tell you that we will go by ward to see, what questions any council members have for you. And we have your resume, we have your application. If there's something in addition that you would like to tell us, we'll get started.
Okay, thank you, Madam President. Actually, I'd like to make a few statements just to clear up some things on my resume, maybe elaborate on some other points that I don't think were quite conveyed in my application.
Okay.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Justin Bako, and I live at 9577 Harmony Drive. I've been a citizen of Ward 2 for the last 7 years. I'd like to start off by thanking the council for giving me the opportunity to speak to you today, and for the citizens of McCandless for tuning in and listening to this whole proceedings. I've been in North Allegheny, this area, Franklin Park, McCandless, my whole life. I attended North Allegheny. I graduated from there. Following my high school graduation, I joined the Army. I was stationed in Alaska, and I deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. While I was over there, I actually met my future wife and the mother of my 1-year-old son, soon to be, and I decided that I was going to separate myself from the active duty component, and I continued my service in the Pennsylvania Army National Guard, where I still serve as an E7, Sergeant First Class in the Pennsylvania Army National Guard. Prior to assuming my current role at Evoca Water Technologies, where I manage digital business operations, I actually commuted from my home here in Ingomar to New York City every week. I worked for a bank, actually the Bank of New York Mellon in Manhattan, and I commuted back and forth from Ingomar to New York City every single week. I worked 12-hour shifts to accommodate that schedule. During my time, I looked at a lot of neighborhoods, I spoke to realtors, and I went around trying to find a community in which I wanted to raise my family in. And to tell you the truth, I couldn't find a community that quite measured up to McCandless. I love this town, and in my opinion, we have a fiduciary responsibility to the citizens, to the environment, to preserve this place for future generations. Having earned my MBA from University of Pittsburgh recently, I'm ready to put my skills in leadership to the test here as a councilman. I think I bring a lot of diverse experiences to council. I am in a young family. I'm in a situation where I'm working and I'm telecommuting, trying to deal with the stress and the average everyday normal existence of working and dealing with a global pandemic, while wanting to serve my neighbors and see to it that this community gets on the other side of the COVID-19 crisis. I'm a political outsider. I've never run for office before. I don't belong to any political action committees or groups or special interest groups. Other than being a registered Republican and voting my conscience, I'm not affiliated with any political group. I can tell you that I can't fill Bill Kirk's shoes because I don't think anybody really can do that, but I'm going to do my best. Bill is very similar to myself. I think we're cut from the same moral cloth. We both share an interest in service, work ethic, and values, and I think that makes me a good candidate to replace him on council. I think that, again, we could benefit from the perspective of a young family. There's a lot of pressing issues here, challenges, and opportunities for the town of McCandless in the next couple months and years. Obviously, handling citizen issues is number one, but also the COVID-19 recovery. How do we deal with a revenue shortfall from an unexpected disaster, which reduced the taxes and real estate fees and services fees that we are usually protecting the property rights of individuals, and that includes stormwater abatement, executing the comprehensive plan, making McCandless more accessible, and dealing with these hot topic issues that pop up like chickens or other special interests that citizens have, and we need to address those responsibly. But most importantly, we need to preserve people's quiet enjoyment to their personal and private property, and I feel very strongly that I could be the person to do that. So thank you so much for the opportunity to interview here. Like I said, I believe in this so strongly, and my family does too, that I am actually fully intended to run for the Republican seat of Ward 2 when the next election cycle hits. So thank you for your time.
Okay. All right. I think you just I think you just kicked off your campaign just now. All right. I'll get us started then. Justin, what kind of budgetary management experience do you have?
Sure. I have a background in project management, technical project management. So I've been responsible for budgets on projects and programs. I'm right now currently responsible for the digital operations of a project, or I'm sorry, of a program that has millions of dollars of annual revenue. I've been part of other councils before. I've been part of my church council, so I'm familiar with fiduciary responsibility and what that means to be a custodian of other people's funds and generous donations, and ensuring that you're executing for the interests of everyone, not just the individual. So between my work experience and my volunteerism, I have had moderate experience in budgetary. Obviously, this is going to be completely different and a new experience for me, though.
And do you recall what your budget that you were responsible for, just roughly?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about my church and our current fund, that's less than $100,000. But if you think about the budgets that I've been responsible for, I've been a senior project manager on a federal program at the Bank of New York Mellon, which essentially accounted for regulatory reform. And I was part of a team of individuals who managed a budget that was in the tens of millions of dollars.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Ward 3.
Hi, Justin. This is Chuck Mazer from Ward 3. Thank you for applying for this position. I have a couple questions. You mentioned the similarities you may have had or do have with Bill Kirk. Have you had the opportunity to take a look at the committee assignments that are allocated to Bill? As we know, Madam President will decide what committees people are on. But if you had a chance to look at those and see what your preferences might be and where your strengths might be?
Yes, sir. Actually, I have, and I feel like I'm a great fit for the technology committee, which Bill is a member of. I have a strong background, again, in telecommunications. That's what I do for work. And so I'm very familiar with all the discussion around 5G, the migration from 4G to 5G, what that could mean to a community, how it could be technically implemented. There's a lot of hype out there, and you really want somebody who has a firm understanding of the technology to help govern those decisions. The technology committee would be obviously a natural fit for myself, but I'd also like to be part of any other committee that Madam President decides.
Okay, Bill was chair of the Sanitary Authority. Is that something that you may be interested in if it so comes to you be assigned that?
I'd have to take a hard look at that, Chuck, and really delve into the details. And at this point, I can't commit to that, but it's something that I would strongly consider. Obviously, there's going to need to be a natural shift of load that Bill had. He also took on quite a bit more than a lot of people do, I understand, and there's always a need for volunteers. I would certainly make myself available in any way possible.
Okay, thank you.
Ward 4.
Justin, this is Joanne Powers from Ward 4. I just wanted to ask, Bill Kirk withdrew from council because of he felt that there might be a conflict of interest between council and his new position. Are you involved with anything that you think there may be a conflict with, any kind of committee or business or any function that you might have?
No, ma'am, I'm not at all at risk of conflict of interest.
Okay. And are you aware that sometimes council requires more time than just one meeting a week, or every other week, excuse me? Are you aware of that?
Yes, Councilwoman, I understand that this is going to be a large commitment. You have a sacred duty to the citizens of this town, and it's going to take time, a personal investment. I can tell you that I've managed to take on a lot of different activities in addition to working full time. Being a young father with a 1-year-old and a family, I do believe that I have the bandwidth to take this on. I wouldn't apply, and I wouldn't certainly put myself in a position to fail if I thought I couldn't. But I appreciate that concern. It's on my mind as well.
Well, I'm very impressed with your resume. I congratulate you. One last question. How do you feel about fracking?
Fracking. I think that I don't know a lot about the science of fracking. I do know it can be potentially very destructive to the environment. I don't know that there's a space for it here in McCandless. I certainly don't, I can't recall of any place that I could imagine putting a fracking pad. I ultimately think that we'll need to take a hard look at the facts and look and see what regulations are involved. I don't think that you're going to be able to place one here in the town of McCandless without really adversely affecting the preservation of our environment in North Park and everything we have going on here. But I support the energy and the idea of a clean, renewable energy source. And natural gas is certainly preferable to any kind of coal fire.
Okay, thank you very much.
Ward 5.
Hi, Justin. Thank you for taking the time to interview with us. And I want to say thank you for your continued military service as well. We all truly appreciate that. I know you obviously very well personally. I was happy to be able to read about some of your professional accomplishments and some of the things that you're involved in as a volunteer. You don't have the benefit, like many of us ran for office. We had some time to learn what the needs of the community were, what the desires were. Even between the election and our starting point, we had some time to kind of warm up and learn how things worked, participate in some training and things like that. You're going to be jumping right into this if you're appointed to this position. And I was wondering if you could tell us about a time in your personal or professional life when you had to do that, or what kind of experience you have in those situations.
Sure, thank you, Councilwoman. It's definitely going to be a challenge. I'm not going to be just a pulse in a warm seat. I am fully intended to dive into the issues of this town, do whatever I can to make an impact. And also at the same time, I understand I wasn't elected by the constituents of Ward 2. I know Bill Kirk was, and I fully intend to do what I can to understand their issues through him, as well as through a pulse of the community. So basically, by taking a look at the interactions on social media, I follow the news, I follow what citizens are saying, I obviously follow town council. I hope to bring myself up to speed in no time there. As far as my professional life goes, I've been in a couple positions where I've had to make dramatic shifts in not only my career, but also really work to build consensus among other people and people who maybe didn't share my views or my values. And that's not just in the civilian world, that's in the military too. I think that in order to be a good leader, you have to be a good follower. I would obviously hope and expect to receive some mentorship, obviously from Bill and other members of this council. I'm certainly not looking to go it alone. I've been in a position where I've needed to adapt to change, and I've done it successfully to some degree or another. And I think that everybody there's times where they wish that they could have done something better or adapted to a different situation, maybe easier. And I have those thoughts myself.
Okay, one other question. Can you tell us a little more about VetNet? I wasn't aware of that program.
Sure. VetNet is a employee diversity and employee resource group at the bank in New York Mellon. I was involved there as a deputy chair for mentoring and fellowship. We helped to acclimate veterans as they came off active duty and came into service at the bank. We held networking functions and mixers, and we really set up a mentor program where we seated young veterans with senior management and helped to give them some mentoring and leadership experience. And it had dozens of members. I was actively involved in that. One of my mentors and probably one of the best managers I've ever had at the Bank of New York Mellon really took me under his wing. And I always felt from that moment on that I was really in a position where I needed to pay it forward. And that's why I contributed to VetNet.
Okay, thank you, Justin.
Okay.
Hi, Justin. I'm Carolyn, I'm Ward 6. I have a few questions. One, have you ever applied for or been on any of the committees or tried to apply for the committees for McCandless?
Actually, I haven't applied for any of the committees. Just with my life schedule, having just getting done with my MBA and having commuted back and forth from Manhattan for extended amount of time, this is really the first opportunity that I've really had to get directly involved in the community. I saw this as a great opportunity. I wanted to take advantage of the opportunity to serve the citizens of McCandless in a really meaningful way that would be worth my time and energy. And I certainly think that joining other committees is something that I'm going to pursue in my future, regardless of the outcomes of tonight.
Okay. And in what ways would you, what new ideas would you have planned or you'd like to see come to fruition in McCandless?
Right. So right now, it's really going to be all about addressing citizen issues and the COVID-19 recovery process, dealing with a revenue deficit and how we do that responsibly without burdening our citizens with a tax increase. And if we do have to leverage some debt, obviously we want to take advantage of the interest rates. I mean, I think the recovery process is going to be the sole focus of a lot of members of council for the next year or so until we get on the other side of this. As far as the ideas, I really look to implement parts of the comprehensive plan that really spoke to me. I thought it was a great addition for these walking trails that follow Pine Creek and the Harmony Corridor. And I think that accessibility in McCandless is really important. I love walking around my neighborhood or my roads with my wife and my young son, but it's just simply not safe to do. Cars are speeding by, people are ignorant, and in some cases, you just don't feel safe. And that's been a common theme among a lot of the council conversation is about traffic and stop signs and how the new development has affected that. I think that having walking trails and the ability to be accessible and mobile in McCandless is going to be what makes this town, special in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Ward 6?
That was
Seven.
Hi there. Hi, Justin. This is Trish Clunan, Ward 7. Thank you for joining us this evening, and thank you for your service as well. Quick question. How did you hear about the Mr. Kirk's position being open?
So I follow the town of McCandless. I follow some of the other social media news outlets here that are local. Through that means I saw that the position was posted. I also have like I said, a relationship with Bill. I helped with him in his campaign, just from a perspective of giving him my thoughts and what was important. We meet and we talked back when he was running. I'm also really good friends with his son, and through his son, we've kept in communication throughout the years. And so I'm on a first name basis. I know Bill very well and his wife, Cindy. So I know them and speak to them too. They're friends and I consider them close.
Yeah, and I guess, I asked because I'm curious to follow up, how you think as our council and our local government can be more available to our residents and so they know what's going on, so they know what the issues are, so they can become involved themselves. If you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I do, Councilwoman, and I just want to applaud the council for moving to the online forum. I actually think that a variety or a flavor of this should exist in perpetuity. I think having it on YouTube, having it on Facebook Live, I think that the council has gone a long way to making it not only transparent through the social media and through communication, but also making it accessible. Not everybody can go and sit in person, and having the ability to call in live and speak your mind for 5 minutes and speak to the council directly, I think is an excellent step. And I hope that exists in perpetuity.
I have one other quick question. You mentioned that you would like to see all of our residents be able to, have the personal enjoyment of their properties. But, we as a council sometimes have to, thread the needle of what developers can do legally in zoned properties, but also balance the thoughts of these residents nearby. And then we also have to think, especially now more than ever, about the tax consequences of allowing or not allowing new developments. Just any thoughts on the current developments happening in our town?
Absolutely, Councilwoman. As a private home owner here, I understand the benefits and the pride you have in your own private property and what it means to enjoy the quiet enjoyment of that. At the same time, easements, encumbrances, sometimes they can be helped, sometimes they can't. I think every situation is unique. You need to look at the zoning ordinances and be very careful, because the decisions being made by council can be used as precedents in the future. So as far as that's concerned, I think every situation is unique. It deserves its fair review, not only for what benefits the town could receive, but more importantly for the taxpayer, the citizen, the people we represent. I think that their interests are obviously very important and should be well represented.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from council? Okay. Justin, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate your application. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, council.
Thank you.
All right. Our next applicant, I think they're available. Are they available?
Yep, we've got Shelly on here. I am gonna start her video. Unmute. There we go.
All right. Let me see if I can see her. All right. Hi, Shelly. There you are. Hi.
Hello, how are you?
Welcome. I want to thank you for applying for the position of Ward 2 council member. And I'll repeat the same directions that I gave to Justin, and that is that we'll go around by ward and ask you questions, and then we'll let you start by, we have your resume, we have your application. If you have something additional that is not covered in that you would like to add, you can start with that, and then we'll move to our questions.
Sure. I won't belabor it, but I would say that just for everybody to get a flavor of, I think, why I ended up here and why I applied for this position. I retired a few years ago, and one of the things that I decided I wanted to do was to get more involved in our community. I've always loved local government. I'm a poli-sci major. My work involves planning, zoning, legal, all of those things that I think are key parts of what local government is involved in. So I am currently on the EAC, which has given me even more insights, and that's been a wonderful learning experience. I make every effort to either attend or be at every business meeting of council, and I love the fact that planning commission is now available. So I think I'm getting to this point thinking that, as Bill Kirk's, Councilman Kirk's shoes will be big shoes to fill, but at least I feel as though I do have a leg up in terms of being able to hit the ground running, but also knowing that I have an awful lot to learn. So I'm not suggesting that but I am aware of what's going on with the town today. And I very much appreciate the opportunity to be considered.
All right, thank you. I'll start us off here as Ward 1. It looks like you've managed a number of very large projects. What would you say your approach is to budget management?
Well, my school of thought on budget management and those of the companies I worked for was that being within budget was of paramount importance, and put simply, the expectation was to come in under budget. And I say that particularly relative to our capital projects, because we were expected, and we did use many strategies to get creative during the process to remove costs as we went. So budgeting is something that we reported on monthly. So I spent a lot of time on it.
Okay. When you were doing these projects, did you have to have an understanding of like stormwater and zoning principles?
Absolutely. I don't want to belabor it with too much detail, but essentially what my job was, what I was responsible for, was from managing both budget as well as the physical components of development. And that meant from the point of finding a piece of property to negotiating the contracts or the leases to designing the site, to designing the building, which included all of those things, just to name a few, would be stormwater, geotechnical, title, sustainability features, lot lighting design, you know, the list goes on. And then, of course, we had to take these projects through the municipal planning and zoning process and build them. And then my department and I was responsible as well for the facilities and property management for the operating businesses. So yes, I would say that that was my life.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. Ward 3.
Hi, Shelley. This is Chuck Mazer. I read through your resume and a very lengthy profile and experience. And congratulations on all the achievements and rewards that you've had in the selected achievements and rewards. And you have a wide variety of experience. How do you see you best using your experience to fit in on council as well as to some of the committees by which you may be appointed?
Well, obviously, thank you for the question. I think I would use all of my years of experience to try to, which was broad, to try to add value. I think that, as I just described it from the last question, that I think there's opportunities for me to, like one example would be, I know one of the things that Bill was very concerned about, and I am as well, is, and he worked with the residents on our current stormwater issues with our residents. That's something that I feel like, I know that the town of McCandless does not have true control over it, but I feel that it's something that as a council member, I would want to get involved in and see what we could do to support our residents, many of which who are in Ward 2. I think that my business experience, you know, things that Bill was involved in, like the sanitary authority, I think he was involved in the ambulance authority. I don't have all of them at the tip of my fingers here, but I just think my general business experience, my acumen, my financial budgeting experience would all lend themselves to being a positive influence on in those areas.
Okay, also, given the current environment, what would you say is the biggest challenge you'll have coming in as in this position, and in particular with what's going on in the world today?
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and I think that one, because of COVID, that it's something that certainly all of council and town staff are spending a lot of time by necessity in thinking about how the world is changing, what we need to do for our residents, their health, safety, and welfare. And at the same time, I also think that this situation might be an opportunity for the town. One of the things in the implementable comprehensive plan was to do an awful lot of assessments and so on that would take our, you know, be that roadmap to take our town from where we are today to where we want to be 20 years from now. And while we have a decrease in revenue, and we know that we don't want to spend money, and by the way, thank you, council, for your prudence and staff for being proactive on those issues. I think it would be a wonderful opportunity to spend the time and the effort keying up what we can do in the future when we hopefully return to a better sense of normality, so that we can get the comprehensive plan off and running at the right time and on the right projects.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, Ward 4.
Hi, Shelley. This is Joanne Powers from Ward 4. You kind of half answered this question that I have. We know that our town is facing a significant budget shortfall. Would you be willing to vote for a tax increase to make up this shortfall?
Excellent question. And I would like to say the simple answer is no. However, I don't know enough about, I think that staff and council has just begun the process of looking at all the opportunities and ways that we can reduce our costs. And that would certainly be my choice, is that working carefully on the budgeting as we have it today, that we find the money in other places rather than raising taxes.
Okay, thank you. Another question for you. Mr. Kirk stepped down from council because of a conflict of interest. Are you involved in any kind of activity or business that might cause some conflict?
I am not. I have, as you know from my resume, I'm formerly employed by Giant Eagle, but I have had no involvement with Giant Eagle since retirement. Maybe answered a couple questions, but I have no active involvement whatsoever. And moreover, should I ever be put on council, if there were ever any issues that came up within the town that related to that company, if for nothing else than optics alone, I would expect to recuse myself.
Okay, thank you. And my last question is, how would you deal with neglected properties? We do have some of those in McCandless, unfortunately. But what would your idea? How would you approach those?
Well, I do believe that that McCandless is a little bit of a crossroads, because we're almost fully built up, and you know, we're that town that's in the process of, yes, we have new development, but we also have aging properties, and that's a lot of, I think, our neglected properties fall into that category. I do believe that if we're going to keep the vision of the comprehensive plan, that we need to be more forceful in terms. I don't want to mess with property rights, but I was just getting feedback. Okay, I prefer not to mess with people's property rights, but I think in situations like that, it's for the greater good and the health, safety, and welfare of all town residents to take a more aggressive approach.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you for your resume. It's very impressive.
Oh, thank you.
Angela?
Hi, Shelley. Thank you for your time this evening. I've appreciated the opportunity to work with you and get to know you a little bit through the EAC. And I know that you were instrumental in the certification process for sustainability, and also in implementing some changes in the town that helped get us that certification. So that being said, is there anything lingering still that you've been working on at the EAC that you would like to see come to fruition if you're appointed to council?
Well, one thing that comes to mind is, as all of council knows, that we recently received the report from the Pitt students who did the kind of the re-audit with recommendations. I think that, and again, this speaks to two things. It speaks to the potential for saving money, as well as the goal of becoming a more sustainable community. So that's something that I'd look to. We might not have the money today as a town to implement some of those recommendations, but ultimately, I think we're going to, sometimes for practical reasons, we're going to have to. So that's something I would focus on, is what can we do? Maybe in this environment, it needs to be, what can we do with little to no money to improve and to take the students' recommendations? And I think that it's just going to be very important that we, I mean, I think fracking is something you have to look at. And we're in the process of putting together, as you know, as our liaison, putting together recommendations and thoughts to share with Planning Commission and Council, so that, because that's certainly an issue that we're facing. And moreover, just to keep in the forefront that we need to keep moving forward with our sustainability goals, not for the plaque on the wall, but because they're really helpful things, and at the end of the day will make for a healthier community and actually lower costs in many instances.
Okay, thank you, Shelley.
Ward 6.
Okay, so looking at this long list of awards here, which one is, I guess, I would say your most favorable or most meaningful award that you received?
Okay, so I'm just going to speak from the heart on this one. It was a very, very, very long time ago, but the President's Award from McDonald's Corporation, I'd have to say, was one of the most meaningful. And that's simply because I was earlier in my career. I was a woman in a completely male-dominated field. I was working for a huge global corporation, and to have received that, which is the highest individual award you can receive at McDonald's, to have received that was absolutely, I thought it was the pinnacle of my life at the time. And I think it was an incredible confidence builder. It gave me, it really motivated me to continue in my career and to do the best and excel at whatever life threw at me. So I guess that's my answer.
Awesome. Okay, thanks for sharing. Another question. Oh, okay, looking here, you have experience as a paralegal in bankruptcy. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Sure. When I got out of college, my first job was at a law firm in Erie, Pennsylvania. I worked for a litigator as well as a United States bankruptcy trustee. And then when I moved to Pittsburgh with my husband, I also worked for another United States bankruptcy trustee. And working in that area, I guess it sounds like it's specific, but the truth of the matter is that bankruptcy is one of the most broad-based areas of the law, simply because, in my opinion, simply because it literally covers almost everything from contracts to real estate transactions, criminal litigation, audits, financial audits. And so I think that work and working in those law firms gave me a good legal, basic legal background, as well as giving me a good springboard to move on to my next job.
Neat. That's a lot of great experience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Trish?
Hi there, this is Trish Clunan from Ward 7. Thank you, Shelley, for joining us tonight. I appreciate it. One of the things, as a former small business owner in McCandless myself, I am hoping to encourage more small business and having our community support them. I see you have lots and lots of experience at the corporate level. How do you see yourself being able to help our small businesses, especially after getting through this pandemic right now?
Well, I think that, and I don't know if this goes beyond what the purview is of our town and council, but I certainly think that is an area that we should be looking at. How can we help? Even if it involves at least the effort to intervene on their behalf to make sure that, and work with their landlords, just making sure that the town is solidly behind these small businesses is one way. Obviously, by consistently and constantly, urging our residents to shop local, which we already do, but I think we can probably do it even in a bigger way. And you've seen a lot of it with the COVID-19 stuff going on. And beyond that, I also think, and if you look at, taking from the playbook, from the comprehensive plan playbook, I think that moving forward, I think that there's great opportunity in some of our declining business corridors, like Perry Highway, like Ingomar, to have a vision that will be very welcoming to small businesses, neighborhood service. And so I do think that small business is a heartbeat of this community and needs to be supported strongly.
Thank you. And one more question, same question. How did you hear about this position?
Well, because being on the EAC, and it was the local newspaper. I think I saw it on Facebook first, to be honest.
Okay, yeah, I'm just curious because I'd like to know how others feel about the transparency of what's happening and making sure all of our citizens are engaged and making, at this point, how many folks in McCandless did know this position was open and things like that. Is that a priority of yours?
Well, transparency is certainly a priority. I think that the last few councils have made huge advances in transparency, in better communication. Part of that communication is literally communicating what the communication is, and I think it's finally beginning to sink in.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are there any other questions from anyone on council? All right. Hearing none. Gavin, do I need a motion to adjourn this, or can we just go right into our meeting tonight? Gavin?
He should be unmuted.
It's time to wake up, Gavin.
I'm going to end the video for Shelley, by the way, just if now's okay.
Yes.
Cool. All right.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gavin, do I need a motion? Do we need to vote to adjourn this, or can we just move into the next meeting? Okay.
We need a vote to adjourn.
And then we have to go, and then we have to start over. Okay. All right. Is there a motion to adjourn our reconvene meeting from the 11th?
This is Angela Woods. So moved.
Okay. Angela?
Second, Joanne Powers.
Okay. All right. And then Joanne. Okay. There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Meeting is adjourned.
RJ, this is Chuck Mazer. I can hear what everybody is saying, but my screen shows Zoom, nothing else. No picture.
Madam President, can we take a short recess before we start the next meeting? So Chuck can get sorted out?
That's actually, I was going to ask if everyone needed a 5-minute break.
Yes,
and so that worked out perfectly. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll adjourn before we didn't even call to order the meeting. So I guess we just got 5 minutes.
And
okay.
Just a note for the folks that have signed up for public comment already at the beginning, I'm going to hang on to your sign up for the May 18th section of this meeting.
Okay.
And I'm going to pause the recording now, and I will restart when we come back.
5 minutes. Help Chuck.
Yes. And we're good.
I'd like to call to order the Town of McCandless meeting for May 18th, 2020. We'll begin our meeting with the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance by Council Member Angela Woods.
We are grateful for the opportunity to meet using technology during these unusual times. May we do our best to represent the people we were elected to serve. May we be open-minded and thoughtful in the fulfillment of our duties. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, some announcements. Just wanting to remind everyone that all town committees, authorities, and boards continue to meet by Zoom only. And we don't have an end date in sight on that. We're following our state to decide where to go with that. I want to also tell people that the McCandless polling McCandless polling place has been selected by the county to be at CCAC North Campus. All other polling places will be closed in McCandless. There is only one. Please tell all your friends. Also, if you did not see it, Community Day, unfortunately, will be canceled this year. And last but not least, if you haven't seen it, drive by the old Trader Horns. The demolition is well underway. All right. Is there a motion to approve the following minutes submitted to each member of council from May 11th, 2020?
And Madam President, they were not completed, so we won't have those minutes for approval.
Okay, all right. All right, so we will wait on those. All right, so we'll have our public hearing on the ordinance authorizing the execution of a cable franchise agreement negotiated by the North Hills Council of Government, which renews the cable franchise agreement between the town and Consolidated Communications Enterprise, Inc. Bob, do you want to go over that, or who's going over that?
I'll go over that to start.
Okay.
The North Hills COG undertook the effort through multi-municipal effort to negotiate an updated franchise agreement. And just to give those of you who may not be familiar with it a little bit of background, the franchise is granted to a cable provider. In the case of McCandless, there's 3. There's Comcast, there is Consolidated Communication, and there is also Verizon. And the franchises are granted so that these cable providers can access the right-of-ways within the town, public areas. So through the course of discussion, we have looked at numbers of issues, including service standards, protections for the right-of-ways, services that will be provided to the community, facilities, what the actual service area would entail, the provision of a governmental and educational channel, bonds, damages, length of term, and how one contract or one franchise agreement would interact in the case of other negotiated settlements that would occur. So this takes place over the course of, excuse me, about a year, and we're reached the point where we can have this discussion regarding Comcast.
Okay.
Any other details you'd like, Madam President, at this point?
We have the kind of highlights of the contract that were submitted to us, as well as the actual contract. Were there any questions? And I have so many things written on my agenda. I apologize. I blew over public comment. We'll do that as soon as we're through with this public hearing. So I apologize to people waiting for public comment. I've got so much written on here. I apologize. Are there any questions from members of council?
This is Trish Clunan. I have a question that, basically in this first page of this executive summary mentions that we are currently working with a 3% fee, but up to 5% is allowable.
That's correct.
How is that fee determined and agreed upon?
That fee is based upon the charges the Comcast imposes on the customer for the cable service itself, for equipment rentals, for on-demand services, premium services, and the like. Those various aspects are aggregated, and then that fee is calculated based on those, including even service installation and the like.
So
Tricia, the council actually decides to take the 3% or the 5%. Historically, McCandless Council has opted in one of many attempts to keep cost to that 3%, 5% is passed directly on to the consumer. If you look at that 35-page bill, you will see on there where the local franchise fee, okay, that comes to the town. So in an attempt,
That's what I figured. I'm sorry to interrupt.
no, I just want to be clear. So in an attempt to keep costs down to our citizens, we have opted, and a lot of towns have not, but we have opted to only take 3%, but we could take 5 if council so opted to do that. My Comcast bill is already high enough. But yes, we have that option, but that has been historically the thought. Any other questions? There is a $38,000 grant that for educational and governmental channel that was in here. Bob, is there, do you have any ideas on utilizing this with the cable network?
Yeah, I think because the grant must be used to provide governmental and educational services to the town, my suggestion, if the council chooses to accept this grant, would be to put that money towards the improvement of the operation of the cable, I should say the cable channel that we've partnered with North Allegheny with. What I'd like to be able to do is enhance the software to enable us to better provide information, and may actually be able to even host the channel ourselves and just continue to work on a slightly different arrangement with North Allegheny to provide information and various forms of meetings, videos and the like to the residents of the town.
I think that would be great. I know we haven't had success in the past with that, but and it's hard to believe, but there are still a lot of people that do not get their information from the internet or from email, that they get it from television. So I would support that. I know we have 3 months to decide whether to take that grant or not, but if we could use it, I would certainly support getting that as just one more way to get out information and to communicate with residents who aren't very, that want to get their information that way. People get to pick how they get their information. Some people want it that way.
Yes. And we've started to look at how we could make that happen. We're still in the infancy of that review.
This is the 10-year contract, everyone. So the decision we make here, we will be living with for 10 years until 2030. Does council have any more questions? Because I'm going to open it up to public comment. On the public hearing, we'll open up public comment on the public hearing, and then once we close the public hearing, then we'll take all public comment. I apologize again for the confusion. Okay. RJ, can we open up for public comment?
Yes, so if anyone here is looking to make a public comment specifically related to this public hearing topic, you can go ahead and type in the chat box, name and address. I believe the original 2 public comments we had signed up were just for general public comments. So
okay,
you would need to sign up again if you want to.
So let's give them a second to do that, and then we'll do general public comment.
And while we're doing that, one other thing that I would like to mention is that the one important distinction between this agreement with Comcast and prior discussion or prior agreements, and that is that per the updated FCC guidance and interpretations, the franchise fee can be offset by slightly with the provision of any services to public buildings. So my recommendation in that regard would be that we would not agree to any of the service to public buildings, so that we would get the full franchise fee, and then through a standalone arm's length sort of transaction that we would hold, we would get any kind of service that Comcast would provide as needed to the buildings.
I would support that.
Don't see anybody signed up additionally at this point.
Okay. Any other comments from council or questions? Okay, then this concludes the public hearing. And now let's open up for public comment on anything.
Okay, just real quick. Carolyn, wave if you're ready. Okay, here we go. All right, so for the, there we go. Sorry, got you unmuted. For the public comment for general matters, the first person to sign up is Richard Mangieri. Rich, if you're still here and ready, I'm gonna turn your video on and unmute you.
I'm here. Hello.
Hi.
Great to see everybody again.
Hello, Rich.
2 weeks in a row for us. Pretty exciting. I just can't believe the time that you guys have into this. It just, my respect is off the chart for you guys. So thank you.
We say welcome to our world.
Yeah, amazing. And I'm assuming you guys aren't paid for this. Even if you were, that would be tough. Just a couple of things. I just wanted to give an honorable mention to Angela Wood, who's helping us, myself and the other people in District 2 that are affected by floodwaters and stormwaters. And she's really, using her own time to help, and has a lot of empathy, and has research and time into helping us. We were all a little nervous, and if you can indulge me for a second, can you imagine being just a little bit nervous or on edge or fearful when you're going to get a rainstorm? And that's kind of the mentality we have. It's hard to sleep when you know a storm's coming. And I just thought, maybe helping you envision what that might be like might, even raise more awareness to what it's like to be somewhere that has poor water management. Other than that, I know I speak for our group. I'm one of the speakers for our group, McCandless Families for Better Stormwater Management. And we just have to continue to be that squeaky wheel until we're safe, and until our land starts eroding away. And we're just hoping on our local leaders like yourselves to help. And so thank you, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you very much for your comment.
All right, gonna turn your video off, Rich. And next up, we've got Brian Danley. Brian, let me find you in here. You are unmuted, and I'm turning your camera on. There you are.
Okay. Yeah, thanks everybody. I want to echo what Rich said. I'm not going to take my full 5 minutes today, so you guys won't have to cut off my mic like you usually do. I'll be quicker today, since we just spoke yesterday or last week, I guess it was. So I don't have as much to say right now, but I will echo that. I do appreciate you guys listening to us. Really want to give a shout out to Angela. She came in, and and really has just done a great job listening, researching, and helping us make contacts and connections. And we really do appreciate that. We hope, quite frankly, Angela, we're counting on you to continue to advocate for us even whenever we do get our Ward 2 position filled. We really hope that you stay on and work with us and whoever our representative becomes, and to fill that position. Along those same lines, I just want to say I was on for both of those interviews, and both of those folks were really impressive. If this was a voting situation, it would be, tough to decide who to vote for here. I love that they both talked about stormwater to some degree. I think that kind of goes to show the visibility that this issue has in McCandless, and particularly in our ward. Anybody that's going to advocate for those of us getting flooded is going to get my vote in the future as well. So I was encouraged to hear both of them speak. One thing I do just want to ask, and it would be great if I think it was 2 weeks ago, maybe, or 2 meetings ago, Bob talked just real briefly about the stormwater idea. I think it was working with the Army Corps of Engineers. He just briefly touched on that. The last thing I'd just like to leave you guys with is it would be great if at one of the upcoming meetings in the near future, if we could just get some more information about that, maybe an update. That would be great.
Okay. All right. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you, Mr. Danley.
Are there any other comments?
That was everyone that we had signed up.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to liaison reports. You have had reports that were submitted to you. If you have submitted a report and have something to add, please feel free to do that. We have written on here the committees that did not meet last month, so we won't have any reports from those. So activities committee.
Thank you. Activities committee, you do have the minutes in your folder, but I wanted to add, we are still tentatively planning our fall game night with the library, but of course that may change. And like everything else, it is very tentative, and it will be the determination of the library if that event will happen or not. We're hoping it can, but we need to be realistic. Thank you.
All right. I had one change in your minutes, and that was, it said there were several applications for the activities committee. In fact, there was one.
Right. Thank you.
It said several on there, just so people know. I believe the community day committee did not meet. EAC.
Madam President, the draft minutes are in the packets for everyone. Unfortunately, much of what the EAC had been planning has been canceled or postponed due to the pandemic. And unless there's any questions, that concludes my report.
All right, thank you. Okay. The Heritage Center?
Heritage Center had no meeting.
Okay, all right, no meeting. All right, and Joanne, if you don't mind, please just submit that to us so we can just have it on here, just so we know. I appreciate
that was our mistake, Madam President.
Okay, all right, good. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know why that wasn't included. Okay.
Okay. All right. There was no joint rec board meeting. Is our junior council member? I didn't get a report from him. I didn't see him also on tonight. Is he there?
He's on.
Okay. Did you submit
he submitted the report this afternoon.
Okay. So
it's in your folder if you went back online.
Okay. All right. Michael, is there anything that you wanted to tell us? We'll read that report.
Is the junior council member Michael
Michael
All
K.
right.
Tap.
We'll unmute him and put him on video now.
Hi, everyone. I don't know if my video is working.
It is. Okay, your audio is working.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the video, but I don't think there's anything I'd like to add. My report this month was just on how now that we've entered the yellow zone, that people are going to start thinking more about the economic impact of the coronavirus rather than the medical and the actual effects of the virus. And so it was just kind of ways that McCandless could help people get on their feet. And I said that Congress had appropriated $150 billion for local grants. So I was saying that McCandless could apply for some of those if our revenues aren't being met by tax revenues, and just to also keep telling people to make sure they're keeping social distancing guidelines and washing their hands and other hygienic things as to not cause a second wave of infections.
All right. All right, thank you. I look forward to reading that report.
All right, thank you.
The Ambulance Authority, I believe they were meeting today when we were meeting, weren't they?
Right, but I spoke with them today. I was not involved in the last meeting, but as I spoke to them, the information that I received was the authority board and administration have addressed staffing due to decrease in calls and revenue. The call volume has been low, but started to rebound in the last 5 days. And as with other meetings, future meetings at this time will be held electronically. That concludes my report.
Thank you. No meeting from MIDA and the Sanitary Authority.
Sanitary Authority, they met, there are minutes in the packet. They met on April 2nd of 2020, and they've scheduled the next meeting for June 6th, Wednesday, June 6th at 6:30.
Okay, they always have they always have good minutes, real clear minutes.
Yes.
North Hills Council of Governments, I believe there was no meeting.
No meeting.
Okay, library?
The minutes are included in your packet.
Great, all right, thank you. Any questions about those? Okay, I think there was no meeting for the North Pittsburgh Community Development Authority.
That's correct.
Okay, and I think Carolyn just got a little piece of the personnel board meeting before she had to hop into this meeting. So Carolyn, are we going to get your report next time in June? Or
Definitely get it, because I actually tried to log in and it wouldn't accept me, and so it wasn't, I don't know. So yeah, so Bob will get the minutes for us.
Yeah, we'll get that together and out to everybody for the next meeting.
Perfect. All right, good, thank you. Planning Commission, we tabled both our big items because we need more information and a little bit more time, so nothing really to bring forward. Technology Committee, what nice minutes they had submitted.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. The notes, as you mentioned, are included in the packet. This was the first Technology Advisory Committee meeting that I attended since Mr. Kirk has left us. I enjoyed being part of it, and one of the things I wanted to note was that we recently made the switch to PM Consulting, and that has proved very beneficial during this time when we've had some town employees who are working off-site. So that was a really good move. And unless there are any questions, that concludes my report.
Great. It looks like they are already earning their keep. It's nice.
Certainly.
All right. Next, I believe the Volunteer Firefighter Steering Committee had no meeting, and the Zoning Hearing Board had no meetings. That's correct?
Correct.
Yep.
Okay. All right. President of Council's report and correspondence. Bob and I did send a letter to the Army Corps of Engineers requesting their approval of the necessary permits to move forward the public-private stream restoration, the public-private stream partner, that's a lot of P's, stream restoration plan on the back, behind the town. So we're waiting to get those approvals. That's really all the correspondence and reports that I have for there. Town manager's report.
Thank you, Madam President. Just wanted to highlight a few things. Public Works Department is currently involved in a stormwater related project on Highland Road near Sloop Road. They're making some connections to the storm sewer to help out the overall drainage flow. There's been a few adjustments we had to make because of a water line location, but otherwise that work is progressing nicely. In a sense, following up on some of the comments that occurred during the council interviews earlier tonight, one very important aspect of our sustainability plan and the PIT students study has been completed. We have now all LED lighting in the town hall and the campus. So
good, great.
We moved that situation forward. I've also been in touch with the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency regarding Pine Creek and the Schweiger situation at that location. They're reviewing some information that we have provided to them, and we're sort of back and forth between the Schweigers and Pima now. We're trying to get some information to show Pima just how significant the issue is for the Schweigers. So, but that is moving forward.
Are there any questions on the town manager's report? Town attorney's report.
Madam President, I submitted my report at the end of the week last week. If there's any questions of a non-confidential nature, I'm happy to address those now. Otherwise, we can discuss further in executive session in the future.
Okay, any questions for our town attorney? Okay. All right, under unfinished business, is there a motion to approve checklist number 5 dated April 1st to the 30th, 2020, totaling $1,035,744.94 as submitted to each member of council and posted on the bulletin board and town website?
Joanne Powers, so moved.
Second, Chuck Mazer.
All right, all right. Does anybody have any questions about this at all, about our checklist, or any comments about it, concerns? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of approving checks indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. So under new business, I guess the best way to do this is ask if there are motions under new business. Gavin, you like that?
I like it.
Okay, okay, all right. Are there any motions for appointments for the activities committee?
Joanne Powers, I move to elect, or appoint, I should say, Cindy Walterman for the activities committee.
Okay. All right, that's Joanne. Is there a second? Is there a
Second, Chuck
second?
Mazer.
Okay. All right. Are there any comments or any discussion? All right. Hearing none. Are there any, well, I guess there aren't any other motions. There aren't any other nominations. So, all right, then we will vote. All those in favor of appointing Cindy Welterman as member of the Activities Committee, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
All right, we'll do a, Bob, do you want to do the roll call vote? Or do you want me to?
I can
Go
do
ahead.
it. Ward 3,
Yay.
Ward 4,
Aye.
Ward 5,
Nay.
Ward 6,
Nay.
Ward 7,
Aye.
Ward 1.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right. Is there a, so I think the way we'll have to do this is we'll have to, we have one junior council person. So and help me, Gavin, I think we'll have to, if somebody wants to make a motion, they have to make a motion to make an exception to the criteria. How are we going to do this?
If you appoint this individual, I think it essentially acts as an exception. So I don't think you need to, carve out that or change your policy. The appointment will stand if it has majority of council as is.
Okay, so we don't have to like add language that says even though we know he's not a junior or senior?
Right.
Okay. Okay.
Madam President,
Yes.
The background that I've been able to get hold of while the meeting is taking place, it indicates that the preferred requirements for the junior council position include residency, that they're an incoming junior or senior. So it wasn't a hard and fast rule from what I was reading.
Okay.
There's a preference there. So I don't, again, to echo what Gavin's saying, I don't know that it would necessarily need to have an exception.
It makes it even easier. Okay. Is there a motion for junior council person?
So moved.
I move to appoint Raj Ginda as a junior council person for the 2020-21 with a term to expire June 30th, 2021.
I second that, Carolyn Schweiger.
Okay, Angela and Carolyn. Okay, are there any comments or questions or any discussion about this nomination? All right, hearing none. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion carries. Okay. Any other new business? So if we chose, if council was ready to nominate and for Ward 2, this is where we could do that. So, or we can wait. So it's up to you all. Is there a nomination or do we want to wait?
This would be done as a motion to appoint, would be the appropriate motion.
Okay. So
Joanne Powers, I move that we appoint Justin Bacow for council.
Okay, and that's Joanne. Okay. Is there a second?
Second, Chuck Mazer.
Okay. Okay, are there any other nominations?
Well, I think technically, if there's a motion on the table rather than nominations, the motion should be dealt with as is.
Last time we did this, Gavin, we did 2 people.
Well, yeah, you were electing council president and council vice president, and we sort of, there's no hard and fast answer. As long as we get to a majority of folks who vote for one or the other, you're good to go. There's no magic to it. But I just want to be clear that if it was done as a motion to appoint, and maybe that's my error for asking it for it to be done that way. So if we just change it to it's not technically a nomination for a position like this. It really is a motion to appoint.
Well, then we can do it like that. I'm just trying to understand, trying to keep us, consistent.
Yeah, I got you. Just a little bit of a different situation. Right.
So just so I understand, if like I want to make a motion, I'd wait until after this, right?
Yeah. So yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. There's been a motion and a second. Are there any comments? Okay. All right. Hearing none. All those in favor of, let me get his last name again. I'm sorry. All right. Bacow. Okay. All those in favor of appointing Justin Bacow as Ward 2 Council Representative, please indicate by saying aye.
Chuck
Aye.
Mazer, aye.
Opposed?
Joanne Powell, aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Okay, roll call vote.
Ward 3,
Aye.
Ward 4,
Aye.
Ward 5,
Nay.
Ward 6,
Nay.
Ward 7,
Nay.
Ward 1.
Nay. Motion fails. Are there any other nominations for Ward 2 council appointment?
I move to appoint Shelley Spoonholtz.
Okay, is there a second?
Trish
Is there-
Clunin, second.
Okay, all right, there is a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Any comments? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor of appointing Shelley Sponholz, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
All right, roll call vote.
Ward 3,
Aye. Nay, I'm sorry, nay.
Ward 4,
Nay.
Ward 5,
Aye.
Ward 6,
Aye.
Ward 7,
Aye.
Ward 1.
Aye. Motion passes. Shelley Sponholz is the new appointed council member for Ward 2. So how will we go about the swearing in? Do we have that information yet?
We don't, I'll work with Bob and we'll talk, we'll get it set up.
Okay, okay. I didn't know if that would be on video or how that would work. We're just still figuring that out.
Right.
Okay, all right. Is there any other new business? Okay, all right. Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
Joanne Powers, so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion is adjourned. Congratulations to all the new appointments.
All right, I am gonna end the recording here.